Joins us now along with Mayor Craig Greenberg. Mayor, thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Great to be with you all here today.
Good to see you. I came in just as the snow was starting to cover the roads, but we heavily salted, heavily brined. Do you think the city is the best prepared it's been in many decades for a storm of this enormity?
I think so, Doug. We've done a lot over the past year, even since the last snowstorm that we had early last year, to improve our preparedness. First of all, since last year, we have $3 million of new vehicles that are out there that are part of our snow team. That means they do a better job with newer equipment, and also they break down less, which means they're out on the road doing the job that we want them to do. I was shocked to learn how little we brined when I became mayor. And so we've changed that approach. We even learned since last year, we've added some additional things, molasses and calcium chloride to the brine this year, so it works at a lower temperature.
So the molasses is getting a lot of attention.
Yeah,
You've got to explain. Is this molasses that you put on pancakes?
That is my understanding. That is my understanding. So because we've gotten so many questions about that, I'm going to get a better answer over the next couple of hours as to the why. But that's there, and then calcium chloride's in the salt. So what they do is they brine first, then they've been putting down salt, which they're doing right now. And when we get to about 2 inches of snow, that's when the plowing begins. The other thing that we've done, just knowing how, regardless of what area of the range this snowfall comes, it is going to be a lot of snow. And so in addition to the 60 trucks that we have as part of our regular snow team, we've brought in another contractor to bring 10 more crews in. So we'll have 70 crews across the entire county.
Is that the first time we've added a contractor for snow removal? I know you use them for the flood
At least since I've been mayor. It's the first time that we've done this, so in the last 3 years. Before that, I'm not sure. But I just wanted to err on the side of being prepared to get the city back moving, knowing how much snow is coming.
Right. Well, so far, it looks like it's working as we've looked at some shots of the city streets anyway. Mayor, I know when you had the state folks there today and talking about working hand in hand, I was curious, when I came downtown, you could easily see the product down on the streets, for the city streets. But like when I came in main thoroughfare 146, I saw nothing on it. And I know the state said they started about an hour ago salting. What was the thinking there with them, or do you know?
Well, the state in Jefferson County, the state does the highways.
Right.
And so because they have a large number of contractors plus the state crew that do it, and they have far fewer miles of road lane to cover. They could do their entire route, they think, in about 90 minutes.
I see.
And so as a result of that, they did not brine, but they started salting before the snow came, did one round of that, and then they're going to be prepared to start plowing. And as Matt mentioned, you might see 3 trucks on the water center.
I heard him say that in your 2 o'clock news conference, and I was impressed that they think that they can get it done in 90 minutes. We've got a Trimark.
Well, and to be clear, Doug, that's one pass.
That's one pass.
You need multiple passes with as much snow as we're getting.
We've also got a shot of 4 different roadways on Trimark that we can put on the screen. We ought to talk about that because here it is at just before 4 o'clock. How would you rate the current road conditions, Mayor? You came over here. And downtown's a little different from the roadways, but this live picture looks pretty good.
Yeah, so far I'm pleased with what I'm seeing and the reports that I'm getting. But again, we don't want people on the roads. We want everyone safely getting home from the U of L game that's going on right now and ending, and then use this as an opportunity to read a book, watch a show, play a game with your family, cook a new meal. Now, find something interesting, but please, unless you absolutely have to, stay off the roads.
We know that the U of L game is packed. I've had some friends text me. We've had reports from here in the newsroom that the Yum Center is.
Yes.
And when they went in, the roads didn't look like this.
Well, it'll be very different when they come out, but I know I've been in constant contact with Chief Humphrey, with Sergeant Sanders, and others from LMPD. We're going to make sure that we get folks safely cleared from the Yum Center, encouraging them to drive home incredibly slowly, get home safe, and then stay home.
Our crew that we're looking at live there is behind a truck. I was told that's a truck in front of us, I think.
Like crossing the bridge?
Yeah. And the roads look good there. Tell us about, just your message to folks. You said stay home, but for the folks that do have to work today, we know several businesses still operating today, probably not tomorrow. But, what is your advice for them just to stay clear of these trucks? They really need to do
use
their
extreme
job.
caution.
Yeah.
First of all, drive incredibly slowly. I appreciate your colleagues there that are giving that member of the snow team plenty of space to do their job. salt is going to be coming out. You don't want that impacting your vehicle either.
Right.
So give them plenty of room to do their job. And also, if you are home and your car is parked on the street, you might want to move it, because if it gets plowed, we're asking everybody on the emergency routes, but even if you're not on an emergency snow route, you don't want to be plowed in at the end of this.
Right.
So the more cars that are off the street, the better we can do the plowing, and the more the more effective it will be. But I understand some people have to go. Use extreme caution. There's no rush. Leave plenty of time. And plus, it's going to be bitter cold. You do not want to get stuck.
Right.
The response times are going to be longer. So
talk about the igloo effect on your car. I mean, when those plows go by, if they encase your car, and then we have the Arctic air coming in. Let's talk about, you heard them revise the forecast. The National Weather Service stood next to you at 2 o'clock and said 8 to 12 now instead of 12 to 15. And interestingly enough, our folks, in talking to John Gordon, who you know used to work for the Weather Service, says Jefferson County is actually going to be divided up. Valley Station, 7 inches could be much different than Prospect.
That's right. So that's what we've been learning over the last few hours, is it does appear that in the northern parts of our county, there's going to be more snow. In the southern parts, there might be some additional sleet. We're going to be prepared forever. I'm really hopeful. I was pleased to see over the past couple of days, and even this morning with the latest forecast, that it looks like ice is not as much of a threat as it was. That's the biggest risk to power lines. Not saying nothing's going to happen, but that's the biggest risk to power lines. So I'm pleased that's not part of the forecast. But we've been through enough of these storms. We know that anything could happen, and so that's what you got to prepare for.
Well, Mayor, you've been out, and we know that as these days go on, the real story might be the cold.
Yes.
And folks that are older, that are stuck in homes by themselves, you've talked a lot about us just checking on each other. And I know, like in my neighborhood, they put out on a group chat, hey, if you can volunteer to go check on people. So that's becoming a really big message.
Yeah, that's, I call it the Louisville love, and I'm incredibly proud of that. All year round. You see it most publicly during challenging times like we're dealing with right now, or following a tragedy, but we know it's everyone and all of our neighbors. And so it is now the time to check on your neighbors. If there are elderly people in your life that you think might need some help, reach out to them. I was incredibly proud of 50 colleagues of mine from my office and throughout Metro government this morning. They volunteered to show up to deliver 900 meals to seniors who rely on Meals on Wheels deliveries. And because that might be taking a couple of days off, we got them 3 days worth of shelf-stable meals to ensure they've got some time to get through this. That's the type of city that we have. You see it now, and so I know we'll continue to see it over the coming days.
Let's talk about the food situation a little bit. As you know, a lot of the supermarkets got cleaned out.
I saw some of those pictures.
Some of them are not going to get new deliveries for a while, and you emphasized in a couple of news conferences for people to turn to food pantries. How are they doing? How are they getting supplies replenished? Because a lot of times they hand that food out for free.
My understanding is that they were well supplied before this, and so they've been able to deal with the demand that was out there. And I'm hopeful by Monday or Tuesday the supplies can continue to get back to them, and so people will have been well stocked. If people are in need of food, though, beyond that, certainly we're operating our shelters in a white flag operation right now, which means they'll take anybody in. And so if there's an assistance that you need, that's the place to go. Our homeless engagement and response team is out every day. They've been out since early this morning, reaching out to people to provide transportation. So we're going to make sure that everyone's taken care of.
One thing I've never noticed, I've never seen this city pre-salt so much.
Yeah.
Before the first flake came down. Is that, in fact, a historic change? I have never seen it happen before, because they were covering streets well before the snow came.
So the latest and greatest advice that we got, we actually had a consultant after last year's historic snowstorm. I wanted to make sure that we were doing the best we could for our city. That's what this city deserves, and that's what they should get. And so a consultant who's very knowledgeable in this area, their advice is you brine, and then as you're getting, at least in this type of condition, it might be different if there's wet before the snow, but when it's dry before the snow starts, you're going to brine, then you're going to apply this snow, and again, we use some extra calcium chloride so it works at a lower temperature, and then you plow. When we get to about 2 inches is when you'll see the plows really going down. That's when you'll start seeing accumulation on the roadways that will start plowing away. So that has been the advice we're getting, and we're going to hope it's worked, but ultimately, if we get 8 to 12 inches of snow, it's going to come down to just time with the plows getting it off the roadways. But I think what these photos that you're showing your viewers right now, I think that's the result of the brining and salt strategy that we've implemented.
Trying to see that exit sign. What was that, Connie?
Well, I was going to say, the last couple of snows that we've had, I think the road crews have done an incredible job. I certainly noticed a difference in previous snows that we had had where it was not so great. So, the roads were very clear. Let's talk a little bit about city services, if you will. I know you mentioned things like, folks need to realize things are going to be a little different. Garbage services, TARC, they're running right now, but that could certainly change. Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. We've suspended garbage service because a lot of the folks on our solid waste management team are also part of the snow team, and so we want their focus to be on ensuring that the roads are safe and clear. TARC is going to continue to update on, they're going to go as long as they can. My guess is at some point it's not going to be safe for the drivers or passengers, and so they will suspend service temporarily as well. But our fire department, our police department, our EMS, they don't stop regardless of the weather. So I know you all are going to be speaking with Sergeant Sanders also. He'll go into that, but we have a fully staffed teams on fire and police and EMS that are available. Now their response time might be slower as the weather continues. There might be a point where it comes where they can't respond to non-injury accidents. Again, just for the safety of everyone. We'll continue to keep the community informed on that. But we have to be prepared for regardless of the weather.
So your next big concern is going to be the Arctic air and that. And of course, I go back to 94, although this storm is so set up so differently. We don't have the wind. We don't have 22 degrees below zero. But we've all noticed that when Louisville gets into prolonged cold, the water mains start breaking. Yeah. And then we have water issues, all of that. What kind of infrastructure studies have you done considering with the kind of weather we're going to have for 7 days or more?
Yeah, I mean, Rachel and I were talking about that this morning with our own pipes at home to make sure we're taking the advice that we're giving to everyone about turning them on, letting them drip occasionally if you're home, turn them off and on to make sure that your pipes don't freeze. I think we're in a much better place than we were in 1994 with a lot of our infrastructure that we have. More people have four-wheel drives. I think we're better prepared. I actually talked to Mayor Abramson this week. I wanted to get his take on what they did to prepare.
He has like flashbacks and nightmares over this. He won't even laugh about it.
Well, I mean, it sounds like, unlike what you're seeing on the screen right now, it sounds like they actually shut the interstates down for a period of time. I don't expect that to happen.
Oh, they did. We've got a famous clip from a news photographer. His name was Donnie Rourke, laying right in the middle of I-71 talking to the camera.
Oh, really?
Okay. Nothing, looking back at the city skyline.
Well, we want to keep everyone moving. So I think we're in a better place than we were, and people just need to hear the warnings. It's going to be cold. JCPS is obviously going to have a decision to make as well coming up, but it's going to stay cold, and that's going to impact our ability with the roads. It's going to impact what people do, and so that's why we're also going to make sure we continue to stay on, whether it's shelters, the community centers, or our libraries, that there are places to go if people need warming places as well.
I'm sorry. Today you said you declared a state of emergency for Jefferson County. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear had done that yesterday for the state. What's the reason to declare it for the county? Can you explain that to
Yeah, there are two main reasons why we do it. One is with respect to procurement. If we need to move quickly, if, for example, it's even worse than projected and we need to bring in more crews or something, we can move quickly through the procurement process in a state of emergency. So it allows us to do things like that. And then also, ultimately, if this becomes such a large event that there's an opportunity for federal reimbursement, as there are after some other natural weather disasters, we want to be able to be in front of the line to try to get reimbursement. And so we start tabulating all of the expenses in connection with our storm recovery that we would submit to the federal government for reimbursement.
You talk about the consultant report. After 94, then Mayor Abramson took a contingent and they toured cities like Buffalo and Chicago, and then they learned put snow plows on the front of dump trucks and stuff like that. And so that was simple stuff that happened. What else did your consultant report tell you? Because the brining has obviously been an interesting, very visible change, and now the salting. Was there any other
So there were a couple,
things?
Again, using some different additives in the brine and the salt was one thing. We also, the blades at the bottom of the plow, we're replacing many of those with a new type of metal that make them more effective. They're going to last longer. They do a better job at the curb. So each time you plow, it will be a more effective plow. We're also constantly evaluating the snow routes. Before last year, I didn't realize before last year's event that we hadn't looked at the snow routes in a really long time. And there were some new roads that had been built since the last snow routes were created that weren't on the snow routes because no one had looked at it. So we did a look at that. We've added some roads. We've removed some roads that don't get as much traffic so that we can continue to cover it. And we're going to constantly evaluate now on an ongoing basis as we get feedback from the community, but also as we see our real experiences, how that's
pick up on that about the feedback, because you tested it first in December.
That's right.
Yeah, because the snow routes came after the January 5th.
That's right.
10 inches in that. So you tested it first in December. What kind of feedback did you get on the new snow routes?
Well, we got positive feedback, and I think that the community was pleased with our work, just a month or so ago. And so I'm hoping they have a little bit of patience this time, given the amount of snow coming. But we're as prepared as we've ever been.
You are. We're taking a live look now, and streets look great out there right now. I'm not exactly sure
Let's
where
see
they
if we
are.
can,
Is that the
can we spot a
Stacks?
landmark there?
Yeah, that looks like, is that? No.
That looks like
No,
it's
no.
I-65 South.
That's what
That's
I thought.
JCTC on the
Okay,
right
okay,
side
yes.
there.
There you go.
You're right.
Downtown
Just south
Louisville.
of downtown.
The mayor knows his city. So tell me about your schedule the rest of the day. And of course, tomorrow, you have a 2 p.m. news conference, which we'll be carrying live on WHAS television and right here streaming. Do you, in the morning, what are going to be the critical hours for you and what you need to
Well,
do?
there are 3 things that I focus on for myself. One is communicating with the community so that they know what is going on, they know what to expect, and they also have tips like we've been talking about here on how they can stay safe themselves.
Okay.
Second is working directly with all of our teammates. I'll be headed right after this back to the Emergency Operations Center, where we have representatives from everyone on the snow team, all of our emergency operations personnel, where we're watching the city with lots of cameras and we're making decisions to provide the best services. And then third, I also, assuming it's safe, I try to get out myself a little bit to say thank you. Thank you to all of the snow team members that are working literally round the clock. We have some folks that, I was going into the emergency operations center earlier today, they were bringing in their suitcases because they're going to be there for at least 24 hours and they'll be sleeping there. Say thank you to them. Say thanks to the folks that are working alternating 12-hour shifts so we can keep going 24/7. And I just think it's important to say thank you to these people that are helping our entire community. So those are the 3 main things that I'm doing during these snow events.
Well, everybody has their own rituals. I drove through where Connie lives today, and I noticed they throw sand down along with salt. There's a little mixture on the roads around where you are. And
I've seen all colors of salt driving around the city today. I don't know which works best.
What's the snow, the first things that you do in the Greenberg household to get ready for the snow? I mean, do you bring in shovels out by the door? I mean, everybody's got their own personal tips and tricks.
So we move our cars to the bottom of the driveway. We have a little bit of a hill on the driveway. So we do that, and we stock up the fridge.
Sure.
And then we pray for the best like everyone
Yeah.
else. And hope, I will tell you.
You go to Kroger for bread and milk?
Of course, we have to eat too. Rachel and I are hungry, get hungry. I will say Rachel did more of that this time than I did. So she was along, you had news stories about all of the stores. Rachel was part of that over the past 48 hours. And I was very impressed this morning when I woke up. Rachel had all of our flashlights already out. She'd taken our lanterns out, so we are ready. We have a plan in the event that we lose electricity at our house, which is, I think, very wise for people to do. And so, but in this job, we stay pretty busy.
Do you, and I think you bring up a good point. I saw a lot of people whose cars were at the end of the driveways and pointed outward.
That's right.
Not the other way.
Not
You don't want to
the
back
out.
out.
I saw today a new thing with my neighbors, and I've seen that a couple times driving around the city today, where people have put blankets
Yes, I've
on
got
their
lots of
windshields.
pictures of that.
So I hadn't noticed that before, so that might help save a little work in terms of clearing the car off.
One thing they do is they tuck them on the inside.
Right.
Yeah, my husband said he was going to go get tarps to put over our cars because our garage is full of junk.
Yeah, you know what? My wife wanted to do that too, but then I said, well, if you have a foot of snow on it, how are we going to get the tarp off? Yeah, or knowing our windshields would bust out.
I like a little bit of shoveling. People obviously need to be careful with shoveling; it can hurt you. But getting out, and now it's going to be incredibly cold, so you probably need to do it in spurts and with how much we're getting. But
here's a photo somebody sent me. They've put a tarp out in the yard for the pet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so in the front yard, it's got a blue tarp out. For this is where the pet's going to go.
That is the final tip that we
to go to the
I'll
bathroom,
share.
I should say. Not,
no,
that's
I don't
going to put them in.
We have been encouraging folks to, I'm sure they bring their pets inside if they're outdoor pets. It's going to be too cold for them as well.
Yeah.
So.
That's critical. Tell me what LMAS does through this. It's common sense things, but with the 7 days of Arctic air, you don't want a pet outside at all. And here, this person put a tarp out there very nicely so they could have their pet could have conveniently a spot to go.
We didn't do that for River, so he's not going to be that
takes a little
fortunate.
extra work.
It does. It does. But no, they bring your pets inside, and LMAS is an operation. They're caring for pets 24/7, again, regardless of the weather.
Yeah.
Well, and Jefferson County is so rural too. You've got people who board horses.
Yeah.
And it's part of their advice from LMAS is get extra hay, get extra straw down, and things like that, and blankets.
That's exactly right. To take care of your pets like you do your people. There we can see the Yum Center. I don't know if the U of L game's over yet.
It's pretty close to being
looks like
around
That's
the
an
time.
NBA game.
that's
you're
an
looking
NBA.
at.
No, yeah, at 2:15 is when the game started.
And
so
another thing I
about
noticed,
4:15.
windshield wipers up.
I've noticed that today as
car.
well. So I'm learning as well as we go. So I'm going to head back to the Emergency Operations Center and make sure that we keep these roads as good as we can. But thanks for having me on. Sounds like I'll be seeing you all tomorrow here as well.
Yes, thank you very much,
you,
Mayor
Mayor.
Craig Greenberg.
Take care, Doug.
And we'll be talking to
Stay
Matt
safe.
Sanders from LMPD next.
Yep, Sergeant
All
Sanders got a lot of good information as well.
Mayor